Right. So we get the modded Gamecube here. It's got a Pluto 2 HDMI mod chip and a picoboot mod chip, Raspberry Pi Pico. And so yeah, there's other mods to do for the GameCube, and I didn't want to make this video too long. This is like the second time I've re-recorded this because every time I've tried to record this, it's easy for me to kind of just yap and just keep going on about this stuff. And I don't want to make a video too long because I feel like if I do, uh, people might not want to watch it. But anyway, so there's several mods for the GameCube, and I like these two mods specifically because they're not that expensive if you're doing this on your own. If you're paying somebody to do it, it's still probably going to cost a little bit of money because it takes work to do this. And the Pluto, the HDMI mods are the ones that really require the real work. The Pico boot, that's beginner level stuff. Kinda. You have to solder the chip to another chip on the motherboard, which is in an awkward spot, and it could be annoying if you've never really soldered or you're just not really that good at it. And honestly, soldering is pretty easy. Just make sure you use flux, and it's a matter of fitting the wire in there because at the top of the chip where it meets where the heat sink sets, it's kind of hard to fit it in there without, you know, it's just hard to fit it in there. Um, Let me see if I could pull up a picture here just to kind of show you what I'm talking about. Let's see here. Uh, Pico Boots 001 diagram. Alright, yeah. Here, I'll just kind of show my screen here. Window capture. Yeah. Um, yeah, right there it says GP4. You have to bend the wire, like right here. And there's, I guess that's the GPU. And it's really hard. That's like the hardest part, is that spot right there. You gotta bend the tip of the wire at like a 90-degree angle. Yeah, that's basically the hardest part. But yeah, I mean, this is basically all you do. I mean, you just wire up these five wires, and I mean, it shows you everything you do. You press and hold. There's a white button on the other side of this Raspberry Pi chip that you press and hold. Then you plug it into the computer, and it'll pop up a file explorer window, put you in the root directory of the Pico chip, and you drag and place the Pico boot UF file in there while you're holding that white boot cell button on the other side of this chip. And once it'll make like a sound of something unplugging, then you just unplug it, and you've successfully flashed the Pico boot software to the Pico chip. And that's pretty much it. And then you'll take your micro SD card, preferably the gold and red SanDisk card, which is what I use. They work every time. The gray and the red don't work, so they might work sometimes, but most of the time they just don't work. They're too faulty. Uh, the red and gray have always done me good, so just go with those. But anyway, you format the micro SD card to FAT32, and it allows you to play the emulators. Now, with the Pluto HDMI, oops, that's not it, which is this blue chip right here, you're gonna have to remove this component port on this motherboard. This is the DOL001 motherboard, and you could only do this with this motherboard. You can mod the AV port on the DOL101 and then mod this on top of that mod, but it's just not worth it. Just get you a DOL001 if you really want to do this, and I recommend you get a solder sucker, which sucks the solder out of the pads. Don't do it the way that I do it because you're probably going to destroy it. I'm just really good at doing this. Unless you're very patient, you could do it the way I do it. And what I do is I basically just do what you see here. I just slap a bunch of flux on it. I take some soldering wick and I just kind of lay the soldering wick across these pads, put some solder on my soldering iron, and I just kind of press down and get the solder to get into the wick. Basically, it pulls the solder out of the pads and it makes this port kind of weak, and I kind of gently wiggle it around. I don't force it too much because you could crack these pads, and once you crack the pads, it's destroyed. So eventually I get it enough solder out of it, out of the pads into the soldering wick, enough to where I could I actually took some wire snips and I just bent this metal shielding of this component port, and I just kind of pried it off a little by little, and it honestly took me I don't know, 30 minutes to really do this. Uh, yeah, and I just basically cut it up with wire cutters to where the teeth that are connected to this component port were actually sticking out of these pads on the other side. Not the side that you're seeing here, but yeah. So basically, at that point, I had to take solder and add solder to these teeth that are sticking out of the pads on the other side, on the bottom side of what you see here, and I just had to get them all out one by one. But I didn't damage any of these pads by doing it this way. It would probably just be easier if you use the solder sucker. You'd probably just be done with it in 5 minutes, but I don't have one, so I don't do I don't do that. So once I did that, this is what it looked like. I had my wires cut up from a HDMI cable because this is a HDMI mod, so I figured I would use HDMI wires. Common sense. And the top row of pads are the odd number, and the bottom are the even numbers. And in the pin out on GitHub, Pluto HDMI diagram, Gamecube, you'd probably type that in and you would find it. Um, it will tell you which one of these pads goes to the pads on the Pluto chip. And I used colored wire because that's the wire that was in there. It was colored, so it made it easier. And because you got to lay this chip down over this, so you can't see these pads once you put the chip down. So you have to kind of remember what wire is what. So I took pictures and used specific colors to not get them mixed up with the top row from the bottom row, from the odd to the even. And yeah, that big white wire right there that goes all the way across, that is for the controller to access the GC video options for the Pluto chip. So while I'm in game, I could just kind of, alter the options. And this is kind of what it looks like right now. Now that it's done, the controller lights up when it rumbles. That's kind of a separate mod, but I mean, essentially, basically, all I did was I just glued some LEDs to the see-through buttons, like near those, and I just wired them to the pads for the rumble, the positive and negative, and that's basically all I did. Anytime it lights up, or anytime it rumbles, it lights up. So yeah, and this is kind of what it looks like while it's turned on and it's open. It's a Smash Bros themed, and yeah, and that's basically what I'm playing right here. So let's just go over some things. This is the emulator. Um, these are just the games I have on this console, and there will be a DOL file, and you just launch it. Test out Zelda. Not every game works perfect, so that's what we're gonna do, mate. I've already started a profile. There might be a way to fast forward it, but I really don't care enough to do that. Oops. I just want to kind of show that it works good. I'm not really going to sit here and play this for more than a minute. As you can see, it looks pretty good. I forget what I press. I just moved the C stick in like circles. So we'll go to the main menu. Hit B, hit exit. Hit B. And we'll just look at the Genesis here. Now for the Genesis, go to builds, select Gamecube because it's the cube. Obviously it's not the Wii. So yeah, for the most part, emulation on here is pretty good. I like this game. I don't have a lot of Genesis games on here. I could probably fit some more though. Yep, as you can see, it works. Got the shotgun up in this bitch. And if you hit right C, you can hit exit, return the loader. And now we will showcase the GBA. I'm not gonna play any GBC or GB, even though you can play those on the emulator. It's just I don't really feel the need to. But I just want to show GBA because GBA is obviously better in terms of like performance. It's gonna push the limits more. So, and I'm just gonna start off with like the hardest game, the hardest performing game, not the hardest as in skill. Just to show that it's not perfect. So, I don't want to give the impression that this is perfect. But if you really want to play these games, these Game Boy Advance games perfectly, I suggest putting the Game Boy Player ISO onto the SD card and then getting the Game Boy Player and playing your actual physical Game Boy Advance games on here. Because the Game Boy Color and Game Boy, they do work perfectly. But I'm not going to bother playing those to show it. Because I just don't really see any point. Let me turn this up. The sound crackles. You hear the sound crackling. Oops. And there are options. I don't know if this might actually help. I don't know. Yeah, I mean the sound is definitely choppy. I'm just kind of testing things out. So I put the frame skip up to 4. Probably not the best idea. Yeah, it didn't really it didn't fix the problem. So yeah, some games don't run the best on the GBA. And since we're playing GBA, we need to reset it because there is no way to just back out to the menu as far as I could tell. And from here, let's load up an actual Gamecube game. See, this is where it's hard for me to pick. Fuck. Well, since this is a Smash console, let's just load up Smash. Now, the cool thing about... Actually, let me go over some other things real quick. If you press B, it'll let you navigate through these bottom options here. And here at the cog wheel, you see a bunch of settings. There's 5 different pages of settings. Now here you could mess with the sound, screen position, the speed. I really don't mess with anything here. Yeah. Yeah, I really don't mess with any of this stuff, but it's here if you want to tinker with it, and you do so at your own cost. This is for like FTP and Samba Share. Um, this is just some other options that I just don't mess with. Most of the stuff you just probably wouldn't mess with. Yeah, I don't really trust it because the screen might go black or something. I don't know. Yeah. So hit B, discard and exit. And another um, suggestion is every time you turn a game on, hold B, and it'll ask you if you want to enable progressive scan or something like that. And if you do, if it asks you that, hit yes, because that is better than interlaced. Because interlaced is only giving you like half of the picture basically, and it's just gonna look like shit. But I think if you just don't even do it, it'll kind of just automatically do progressive scan anyway. So I'm just gonna kind of load this up. Patching file. This is a mod, by the way. And that's the beauty of having a modded GameCube. I'm holding B. See, it asked me, and I'll hit yes. But anyway, yeah, it's the beauty of having a modded GameCube is you could play modded ISOs. So this is a modded version of Smash. See, we got characters on here that aren't usually on here. Diddy. See, you get these hacked maps and shit. It's pretty awesome. Alright, so now that we're here in a real GameCube game, I'm going to tell you how to get into the menu of the GC video menu. You hold L, left trigger. So you hold left trigger, right trigger, X, and Y. Oops, I didn't want it to do that. I'll have to press start and do it. Alright, there we go. So, okay, I had to press start again. So you got scanline profile. If you turn that on, it enables scanline. Yeah. And you can mess with this if you want. I mean, this is like a CRT TV filter kind of thing. I really don't care much about it. I really don't see a point. You have scanline settings. If you press X, pressing X will be the way to kind of navigate through here. But yeah, I mean, you could do all this stuff at your own cost. I don't really recommend it, but it's there if you want to mess with it. Picture settings, you know. So one thing to note that when you first do this mod, if you do decide to do this on your own, the second you turn it on and start playing a game, you'll realize that you don't have any audio. And the way you do that is the way you fix it is you go to output setting and you enable enhanced DVI. You want to turn that on. And then your sound will show up. So yeah, I mean, you can kind of just look through here. I don't mess with any of this stuff. Advanced settings. The funny thing is, it's still like I'm pressing X in this menu to do this stuff, and it's acting like I'm in the game pressing it. So this menu, just because you're in this menu doesn't mean you're not pressing buttons in your game. So just keep that in mind. When you pause this game, you can still do things. So. But yeah, be careful on the things you turn on and off, because sometimes you could turn something uh, like this right here. I think if I turn it off, see my well, it works on this game. Some games are different and have different resolutions, so you got to keep that in mind. I'll just turn it back on because it was already on. But yeah, we'll hit exit. And if you want to save your settings, you would hit X right here, and then after that you would hit exit. And see, now we're back. So, but yeah, that's basically it. If anybody's interested in this console, I would sell the console by itself for $250 plus shipping. With the controller added, $300 plus shipping. And I only sell to people in America, so if you're out of the country, I'm sorry. But if you want to do it on your own, just remember, look on eBay and make sure you know what you're looking at. Look at the pictures very well. Make sure you know that it's only the disk drive that is damaged. If there's video or audio issues, I wouldn't mess with it. And make sure it's a DOL 001 if you want the Pluto HDMI. There are other mods like Retro Gym, but that shit's way too expensive. I would never spend that kind of money when this just looks fucking awesome as it is. So that's all you need. But any questions, feel free to hit me up. I'll probably do some streams with this console, probably beat a game or two or something. I like to test these things before I really sell them. Everything I sell is tested. I have 100% feedback on my eBay store. Yeah. If anybody's interested, definitely let me know. If you want to build your own, good luck.